Hello, hello, can you guys hear me? It's good to be here. My name is Frank Taylor. I work with Swarm.Fund, and my title is Head of AI. And my goal here for the next 10 minutes is to give an overview of what is swarm intelligence that our name refers to, and how it applies to private equity and crypto markets. For those that don't already know, Swarm.Fund is a platform for investing and funding private equity in the crypto markets. The current landscape of the crypto markets is very immature compared to traditional markets like on Wall Street and other markets around the world, in financial centers, what have you. There's a lack of liquidity, there's a lack of real investment opportunity. Due to this lack of on-ramps and off-ramps into the crypto world, we are building the on-ramps and off-ramps at Swarm, and that's fundamentally what we're doing. Just want to say we are not an AI company. I get asked that a lot with my title, Head of AI. But we are working toward capitalizing on swarm intelligence. But what is swarm intelligence? It's human intelligence collectively, but it's also enhanced by AI. It's enhanced by what bots can do, what intelligent and robust machine learning can do. So this is not intended to be a deep dive by any means into what steps we're taking on the AI side, but it's simply a high-level exposure to our philosophy and an overview of what we're currently doing and how it applies to private equity on our platform. So what is swarm intelligence? Why do we use that name? And how does it pertain to decentralization, to crypto markets, and to private equity in particular, which is what we're at Swarm particularly concerned with? So like any good researcher, I start with the Wikipedia. In swarm intelligence, many agents are following some local directive. They observe their neighbors, their environment. They optimize over a simple set of parameters. And from this, a global intelligence emerges. So you have a population of many bots, if you want to call them, or agents, whether human, biological, or robotic. And from this, a global intelligence emerges. So I'm a huge fan of Wikipedia. I use it a lot. I think it's a pretty good representation of what the wisdom of the crowd can really offer. And there's a little link here to a recent article I read by Paul Smart at the University of Northampton called Knowledge Machines. And he explicitly outlines how Wikipedia effectively is a really good representative of swarm intelligence. So really quickly to recap, agents act locally. What does this mean? They're usually following some short-sighted directive. A trader may only be concerned with short-term gain or satisfying certain portfolio criteria. A termite might be concerned with where to build the next sequence of termite shelter. And if you've ever seen like a termite shelter, there are these really elaborate constructions. And they evolve and they serve a lot of really intelligent purposes for the overall colony and for the fitness of the species. But yet each individual termite is acting on very simple parameters. So bird in a flock is a similar one, right? You guys have all seen a flock of bird. It's actually our logo. So that's really what Swarm is alluding to. So the next one is optimize over simple parameter spaces. So that just means, it's another way of acting locally, but it means that the amount of options or actions that an agent can take is relatively simple in the grand scheme of the global criteria, right? So like if you have a global criteria, which might be the survival of a species, or to create something like the modern global marketplace, which is enormously elaborate. But yet each trader in a trading room is trading over very simple criteria. And all of the agents involved in making that thing work are acting on really simple criteria. And that's because most animals and people are simple creatures. So I realize I've been hitting this button. This was not supposed to be on the slide, but it's actually a picture of the termite colony that I was referring to. I had intended to take that out. Somehow that ended up in there. So from these agents acting locally, optimizing over simple parameter space, they emerges a global collective intelligence. So that's where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. I mean, you can see that in a Wikipedia article where if you're a technical person like myself, you probably like to read Wikipedia a lot. And I refer to it, especially around statistical matters, And I might read an article around, a particular statistical matter. And so one person cannot write the quality of that article. It takes many statisticians sort of fighting against each other, going into the back room and just like laying out why they want to argue for one point or another. And what emerges is something much better than the sum of its parts. So this is the idea, just really quickly. This is actually not the right, I'll just ad lib here. So what we're really aiming for in private equity is, in the private equity, there's an issue when you invest in private equity. You have basically very negative returns initially. It's like when you invest in a startup. If you're a VC investor, you invest in a startup, you put a lot of money up front for hopefully big returns down the road, and it's very high risk. Now imagine if you could create liquidity in that market. Imagine if you had a broad set of agents where people can effectively tokenize their co-investment. So let's say you invest in private equity, and your investment, maybe for whatever reason, you want to exit, but other people still believe it's a good investment. You can actually liquefy your holdings, get out early, and then the other people can actually buy in at a later time and reduce their drawdown exposure. So yeah, so here we go. Here's the right one. So Swarm intelligence, and this is basically AI bots, agents, intelligent machine learning, plus crowdsourcing can provide performance of funds with vintage years and sectors. So vintage years, like in private equity, it's sort of like the nascent year of when this fund begins, right? Identify optimal times for entering co-investments. So this is like, there's a lot of machine learning that can be done around, it's something we're actively working on, that can be done around what are the optimal times to invest and for who, and who are the right people. And there's a lot of signal there. This is a big one. Fund managers, because of the way private equity works, there are successful managers, there are really successful managers, and there's mediocre managers. Then there's those people who just shouldn't be in private equity and they don't stick around long. So you can actually find signal using machine learning as well as crowdsourcing on who are the good managers. Reduce idiosyncratic risk. So idiosyncratic risk is something you see in private equity. By crowdsourcing, you can actually extract signal, make optimized decisions to reduce that risk. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to rush through this. So I just want to talk briefly about our time frame, where we're at now and where we're headed. So really quick. So we have, as of now, a phase 1 liquid democracy in place. So we're a live platform. We did our ICO last year. You can actually go on, log in, take your Bitcoin or your Swarm or your Ethereum and invest. There are several funds available now. There are many more in the pipeline. And by owning Swarm tokens, we actually have a democracy system in place. Think of it as it's a governance platform that it's a decentralized governance platform. I think that's a simple way to put it. So liquidity, that's something where, I think everybody in the crypto world is expecting security tokens to be exchangeable in the very near future. So that's something we're actively expecting, working toward, and collaborating. We expect that's something we expect to be doing. And then phase 3 is Swarm intelligence. That's where we apply the machine learning we're doing now, in a compliant way that offers tools for those investors to make intelligent decisions. So you have tools when you go onto Ameritrade or whatever trading platform you use. We intend to expand on that and build tools that are unique to private equity and also to all of the other opportunities that are sort of in the OTC domain. So I have about 30 seconds. I'd love to take questions, but we're probably out of time. But I'm happy to address, if anybody wants to come up to me after the talk, then I'm happy to talk in detail. So thank you for your time.